Hey everyone, welcome back to Roll Better Dice Gaming. I'm Scott, and I'm here with a painting video for you. For this video, I'm going to be painting one of the new, everyone calls them TMU bikes, but the TSMEU-6 personal wheel bikes. So this is what I'm painting today. I've already got it primed silver. Before I go into the actual painting of it, actually, I'm going to jump right into the painting because I want to get one step out of the way, and then I can talk about the brushes I'm using and what is it? The brush I'm using and the different paints that I'm using. So the first step I'm going to do right now is I'm just adding a wash overall to the entire thing. This is just simply because I need to kind of darken things up a little bit. One second here. There we go. Sorry, so actually, I'm not going to do the wash yet. Um, yeah, we'll do the wash. Go for it. Nope, I'm changing my mind again. Sorry, we're going to do some detail work first. So we're starting off with Rune Lord Brass by Citadel. This is going to be to do some of the highlights and stuff. By the way, I'm using my Grievous model as my, what's it called? Just to kind of help see what I'm doing, what color palettes I used elsewhere, so I know how to go about getting these models painted the same. So this Wheel Bike Grievous will be my subject, I guess we can say, the model, the inspiration. So I'm using him for a lot of this. So he's going to be off to the side. You're not going to see him, but this is what we're doing. So we're going to start off with the Rune Lord Brass. And this is just going to go over all the little bits where I need to just change the color a little bit to break up all of the silver. So first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to go in and I'm going to just start painting all these little nubs. Such a technical term here. So I've got lots of little places I got to paint this color. So unfortunately, this is going to be a little tedious here. And we'll end up fast forwarding through this. But you notice the motion I'm doing, I'm just doing small, small strokes. I'm not just jumping in here and doing big old patches of paint. I'm kind of moving it around. I'm getting it just where I need it to. And I'm focusing on the raised up areas. I'm trying not to get too hung up on where I'm putting it. If I get a little bit too much paint like that, I can move it over to the other one right next door and just kind of keep using that same amount of paint so I'm not just wasting it or washing it off somewhere. And I'm not super worried about how thick it's going on or thin it's going on. I mean, this is the first of multiple layers of paint going on this model because we've got a lot of little layers to do here. I don't know if anybody's there, but if you are, I'm just posting this for the painting video out in a few places, and I'll be back with you in a minute here. Okay, and we're back to putting paint on this guy again now. Excuse me. Star Wars Goldfish. Hey, what's up? What camera are you using? Looks pretty good. So this is, oh gosh, I don't even know the name of this thing. I think it's probably on the bottom of the camera. Let's see here. I'm going to my settings here. The camera here is an IPEVO, IPEVO, uh, VZ-R. So IPEVO VZ-R. This is actually, if you look it up, you're going to see it's actually a document camera, but it's a 1080p document camera. But it's nice and stable. It's got autofocus. It's got good lighting built into it. So this is what I've been using, at least for the painting videos. I would love to get my OBSBot up here, but trying to get it mounted above the table, I just haven't found a good way to do it yet. But the IPEVO works pretty well. I assume this is by Star Wars Goldfish. I assume this is Andrew. I'm trying to get in some of these little harder to reach places. And again, I'm gonna be doing a few different metals on this, so I'm not too particular. I'm gonna be doing some dry brushing with Necron Compound, and I'm gonna be doing some washes, so a couple little mistakes aren't gonna be noticeable. But that hair clump right there drive me crazy. You're using an old iPhone for your recent videos, but I can only get the 4K with recording not connected to the computer. Yeah. Yeah, I've tried using old iPhones, old different brands, Android stuff like that. I can never get those to work really well. I've had them where they timed out and they stopped recording, and it just becomes a nightmare. So this I found works really, really well, and I got it fairly cheaply too. So that worked out nicely. Okay, so next one we're looking at is we're gonna try to get into the gears on this guy. So again, I'm using my Grievous as the kind of base of what I've been trying to do here. So I've got him off to the side using a reference. There we go. I knew I had words. So just using him as a reference so I can kind of get the same color palette going through all of them. I also picked up some new mics, Andrew. Let me know how this mic is working out. This is the newer CM28 Pro. And so far, I've been really happy with these mics. They seem to pick up really well, nice noise canceling. So not too bad on that. Trying to get this little wheel in here. Even though it's going to get covered up with a bunch of other paints, but I'm gonna touch it up anyways. I'm going to try to get the, well, yeah, I can get the one down here. Actually, had a good angle on that one. So many little details on these models. Stormtrooper video in the pipeline. Nice. Trying to finish it tomorrow and post it up. Painting video. What's your scheme that you're trying to go for in the painting video, Andrew? This gear's harder to get in here. It is really tucked in there. Okay, now for the fun part on this guy. On the other one, I did the feet back here, which takes a little bit of time. They're not horrible, but it's just more tedious painting. I just didn't want to have the model look all silver. That was my biggest problem with it. I just didn't want to have a bunch of these wheel bikes just rolling around just completely silver. So I, as much as all this little, you know, tiny detail stuff like this, it does produce a better model in the long run. You'll also notice that on this model, I did choose to go with the Magna Guard, and I actually went with the Magna Guard on all of mine. And the reason I did that is because I think with the Magna Guard, only one of them has a cape, so it'll make it really easy to tell which one is the leader in the unit and which one is not. Whereas the BXs, there's no good way to distinguish them. I don't see a lot of people do this when they're painting. I tend to use a finger to just kind of grab onto the model, give me a little bit more support. It's almost like a frame of reference, just so I know where I'm moving my hand at, as long as I can do it that way. I try to. But sometimes we get these areas like this where I just gotta go in there. I hope I don't make a big mistake. We don't have our normal battle report tonight like we normally would. Tonight we uh, we have a little bit of difficulty with our other cameras. We've had some problems trying to get the remotes for the obs bots to work. We've got that all figured out now. We're condensing them down from 3 remotes to a single remote, getting rid of our video switcher. Are you guys going to get the 3 full units of? Actually, Andrew, I've got 4 full units of them. Because since they have Entourage Grievous, you can actually run 4 units. So I've got all 4 units already. I've got 3 of them built, and this is the first one I'm getting paint on. So whether 4 is a good list or not, I don't know, but it sounds like fun. And I actually had all 4 of them back on last Tuesday. Um, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I got them last Tuesday. I don't want to get any places or people or stores in trouble. So yeah, last Tuesday. Okay, so that's looking like all 4 feet are done. And now, because I am just a glutton for punishment on my other one, I also did all of these little spikes on the wheels coming off in the same Rune Lord brass color. So now we got to paint all those. And later on, we're going to cover them up quite a bit. Cooking dinner right now, so sorry if you missed anything you said. Nah, you're good, man. Go for it, Andrew. I haven't even had dinner yet. I'm going to be grubbing after this paint video. So the real question is, what are you making? We also have another video that we recorded last night remotely that I'll be getting up here later tonight as well. That one was our Adepticon hot takes, Adepticon preview hot takes, whatever you want to call it. I haven't worked out the title for the video yet, obviously, but it's going to be us talking about what we think we're going to see at Adepticon on the preview night this Friday. If you guys have any ideas or thoughts on what you think we're going to see, I'd love to hear them. Or if you have any wish list items that are just way out there that you'd love to see, but you're ideally going, yeah, we're probably not going to catch that, or not probably not going to get that. I'd like to hear about those too, because I got some of those myself. Okay, that's one side pretty much done there. Let's go to the other side here. Well, we got to go to the other side of these teeth, the bottom side, I guess you can call it. Kind of like a Mobius strip. They flip around halfway through. I'm guessing me, like a lot of you out there, are probably feeling the same way right now and wishing that we had plans this week to travel to Adepticon. I unfortunately will not be making it this year. So we're working on wheel bike grieves here. I'm working on painting some of the trim work on this bike before I go ahead and give it a wash and a dry brush. These are just the little tiny, I don't know, claws for the wheels, I guess. And I just don't want a full solid gray bike throughout the entire thing. So I'm really trying to kind of break up the color and do some different color metallics on these bikes so they stand out a little bit more. Instead of, like I said, just a big gray mass rolling down the battlefield. And I'll be talking about here shortly about the brushes and paints that I'm using once I get to the wash stage, so I have time for the wash to dry. Because I will be washing this model all over with known oil. Just trying to go through and hit every little part of these fins. I know I'm missing the bottom or one side of them right now, but I'm going to go back through and get those here in a minute. So we got a couple people watching. If you're excited about Adepticon, let me know what you think we're going to see in the preview on Friday. I've got my hot take opinions, but I'm curious what you guys are thinking. Do you see the Gray Squadron paper proxies? It's kind of funny. I saw that, and I mean, it's one way to definitely do it. I mean, it's nothing wrong with it. It's a good way to kind of get them out there. I assume that the reason they were able to do that was because they had the models ahead of time, as being able to like get them from AMG and unboxing and painting videos and all that stuff. So yeah, I saw that they did that. It was definitely funny. Um, but yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the video. I haven't had really time yet, but yeah, it's definitely comical that they did it that way. It's funny. This is like the most detail work I do on this entire model besides the cape. The rest of this model is going to go fairly quickly after these little fins. Okay, I think that's all the Rune Lord brass that I need to do. Just double checking my Grievous model off to the side over here. So Rune Lord brass is done. Give our brush a little wash here. Okay, so that was Rune Lord brass. Now we're switching over and going to Retributor armor. This is a nice bright gold color. Um, I'm not using a lot of this because I don't want it to be too overshadowing on the other color. Wow, this pot has definitely seen better days. Kind of rough there. But I really do like this color, but all I'm doing is I'm painting it right inside these little recess parts right in here. So just coming in here and just right there, just give a little bit more color just to make it stand out a little bit. Just one of these small little areas and details that helps make this model look a little bit better. I believe if you actually go and look on the box art, or maybe it's on the model that they used for the box, there's a color similar to this that they use right in this area. And I know it's kind of bright and it's kind of a contrasting gold color, but it's going to get toned down a little bit once I put a wash on it. We're going to jump over to the other side here and do the same thing. Now, let's start down here. So you guys can see it. There we go. I think this little gold trim just does so much for this model, just to make it stand out. Okay, that's the only place we're putting the gold, just on that one part. Okay, next part before I get my wash on here. Um, I'm going to do each of my bikes in a different color. So basically what I'm doing is the little side panels on the wheels right here, or on the feet, I guess I should say, not the wheels. And then the cape are going to be red. They're going to be two different reds for me. I'm using the cape is going to be three colors, but this one down here on these little leg parts is just going to be a single color. I'm just using the contrast ball red. I saw something about Adepticon there. I wish I was going. Unfortunately, I won't be. So, and again, this is going to be a very, very bright red, and we're going to tame it down, so I'm not too worried about that. You'll notice I'm getting a lot of red paint on my brush here. I want it to be a nice color. I don't want it to be too thin. I don't want to be too thick, but I want to get good coverage with it here. Top section. I'm just barely missing that part. And I noticed I did get a little bit down here, and that's okay because again, once I put the wash in, it's going to settle in that area and kind of close that part in, and I'm not going to be able to see that, so I'm not worried about that at all. Next side right here. So with four of these bike units, what color do you guys think I should do for the unit markings like this? I think I'm obviously going to do purple, because I think purple would look really good. Obviously, I'm doing red right now. I'm thinking blue for another one, and then I'm really torn on the last one. I'm thinking maybe green. I'm just not sure how well it's going to come out. Oh, got a little pink somewhere there. One. So just a little bit right down here. We're just going to use a wet brush with nothing on it and just kind of wick that up. Okay, here's one of the more interesting parts is getting down. I don't know if you guys can see it down in here. I doubt many people are going to see that part. I'm not super worried about it, but I'm one of those sticklers. If it's there, I probably want to paint it. Oh, I'm just getting red everywhere down on the bottom of this. Well, luckily that's what touch-up paint's for. So I'm using lead belcher to touch that up because that's what I primed it with. I'm not even going to try to get the one back in there because it's going to be way too hard to get that one. So I'm just going to skip ahead over to the other side here. I've got this one little hair on my brush. Driving me crazy there. Do a color for each of Grievance's lightsabers for the squad marks. That's Not a bad idea, Andrew. I kind of like that idea. But actually, technically, he's only got two different color lightsabers that he ever uses. It's green and blue because he's a Jedi hunter. Because he's not a Sith Lord, he doesn't have a red one. So it would just be two green bikes and two blue bikes. I have seen some people paint them where they've got like the yellow sabers and the orange sabers, and I mean that's definitely cool. But canonically, yeah, it's just the red or just the blue and the green. More paint there. Oh, just making that worse right now. There we go. And even that little couple spots right there, I'm not super worried about. You can barely see them right there because they're going to get covered up with some dry brush anyways. So, and of course, we're getting more red in places we don't want it. So again, to get these up, just use a little bit of a wet brush, just with your paint water. Just start going over that area where it's at, and you'll eventually get it to come up. It doesn't take too long to do it. And if you can't do it, touch it up. This is kind of warm up here where I'm at in my house right now, so I don't think those are going to come up any better than that. So we'll just pop over to lead belcher next and just touch those up here in a second. Again, I know I'm painting these little teeny tiny areas. Sometimes I know no one's ever going to see but me, but just I guess it's OCD or whatever you want to call it. But I got to get these little areas painted. I mean, I guess I don't have to, but if somebody ever picks up my model and looks at the bottom of it, I want them to see that somebody took their time on it. Okay, so I think we're looking good on that. So, um, do a color. Oh yeah, there's the same thing there. Sorry, I was reading the chat and nothing new there. Okay, so jumping to our lead belcher to do some touch up here. I tend to use a lot of GW paints, but I do switch it up from time to time. I do have some army painters. I have some secret weapon miniature paints. I have a fair amount of paints. I think last time somebody asked me how many paints I had, and I did a quick count. I was somewhere around the range of. I'm going to move this banner off here because it keeps seems like it's getting in the way every time I'm trying to show people stuff. Um, I think I want to say I was up around somewhere about 600 paints last time I counted and added them up. But you've got to have the right color paint for the right part, you know? You can't just, I don't think there's any one right paint. Sometimes you got to use some different brands to get the effect you want. Got to make sure Golden Demon ready. Yeah, I mean, by no means a, perfect painter. I try my best. I enjoy what I do. I mean, I get compliments on it. I've won some painting awards back when I was painting Warhammer. Um, but I don't know. It's part of the hobby. I enjoy it. I'm not gonna get all hung up on it if it doesn't look great. A lot of times anymore, I'm more about what's the best and quickest way I can get it on the board without having to spend too much time. I mean, if I can paint a model in 30 minutes compared to an hour, I'm probably going to take that chance. Okay, so we need to start working on the wash here. So I do use Nuln oil. The Nuln oil, when I've used it, is a little bit different than just the standard Nuln oil. I still have one of the old larger pots. So just to give you an idea, this is a standard size pot right here. This is one of the old larger ones. It is slightly bigger than the contrast paint pots. So you can see the three different sizes there. If I can hold them, there we go. So it is still definitely larger. It's one of the larger pots that way. Um, and what I like to do is I take one of the new bottles of Nuln oil, I pour it in here, and then I fill it up with Lamia medium. So it's even taking the Nuln oil and thinning it down a little bit further. I think this is what helps me um, not get a real splotchy look to it. It kind of keeps the mic is a little hot here. Um, it keeps the recesses dark without getting too much buildup in the areas where I don't want it. Yeah. So okay, washing. I mean, you guys have done washing before. We're just gonna cram all this wet paint in everywhere we can. So um, I tend to use a big brush when I'm washing. I want to get it everywhere. I don't want it to be restricted to any one area. I want to move it all over the model. And by using a big brush, I find that I have a lot easier time doing that. I usually tend to do it with soft bristles for the brush. This brush is a little bit rougher. Um, one of the projects I was working on, I happened to get a little bit of glue on it. Some of the bristles got a little stiff, and so we're still dealing with that mess. And I haven't upgraded to a new brush yet for my washes. But this is my favorite brush when it comes to washes. It just works really well. It holds a good amount of paint in the ferrule. Um, it releases the paint pretty well once I touch the model. So yeah, this is the one I like using. And on this, again, like I said earlier, I chose to do the Magna Guards on the bikes instead of the BXs. The other reason for this is that it gives me the ability to just prime it in one solid color because my BX models are painted in gray, whereas the Magna Guards I painted in silver. So this allows me to just put one single base coat on this model without having to worry about trying to get trying to get the two different colors on there and get it shaded. By doing the silver, it just makes it a little bit easier. You can see I'm not being super careful with it. I'm kind of, putting the paint on here haphazardly. Um, it's just a wash layer. It's nothing too crazy here. So you've been using the Pro Acryl range. How are you liking those, Andrew? I've seen them. I've actually have some gift cards for some, that we gave away as prize support at one of our tournaments. Um, but I don't think I've ever actually used their stuff. Not that it's bad or anything, I just haven't had the chance to. And this one of the other things I try to do is I try to never go back over an area where I've already applied wash. I've had some paints where it can pull the paint off sometimes, and I absolutely hate that. So again, with this paint scheme, it allows me to even just go ahead and do the Magna Guard all at one time, along with the bike, so I don't have to worry about coming back later on. Some of these areas are so fun to get on this thing. That's why I did last time. I came in from the inside. That makes more sense. I'd say it's pretty solid. Had a guy in Las Vegas open up their booth, say that you don't need to thin it down, and so it holds pretty true like it usually holds pretty true. Like usually, I just have to rely on a wet brush. So I'd say it's pretty beginner friendly. That's probably definitely more expensive than your average paint. Yeah, I can understand that, but I mean, honestly, in this hobby, there's some stuff that we would just pay out the nose for because we know it's going to be better. Just like buying miniatures, we know certain brands are going to produce better quality miniatures than others. Uh, so yeah, I think it can be worth it. I'm not saying there's anything bad with expensive paints. In fact, they're probably better in the long run than regular paints. Um, but I'll tell you, when I first started painting, I remember I was painting with apple barrel paints in these big bottles like this that now I just use for priming. But this is what I started painting with back, oh gosh, when I was about 10 years old, back in 92. And I mean, I had some good painted models back then. I think it's the timing and the skill of the person painting. Um, I mean, the tools help, but the ability and the patience can go a long way in this hobby. And obviously, getting the tips from all us veteran players and painters who've been doing this for a lot longer than we probably should have. Learn from our mistakes, learn from the stuff that we've learned over the years. And it'll help you get a really good looking model pretty quickly. Okay, I think I've got this guy washed pretty much all over. I'm just doing one more double check through. Not really seeing any areas that I may have missed. Maybe the back of the chair here a little bit underneath the chair. I think that's looking pretty good. So while this is drying, let's talk about the brushes and paints I'm using for today. Thank you, Andrew. Have a good night. And we need to get another tournament in soon up in your area. Again, I'm happy to bring the terrain. So let me know whenever you want, and we'll get that scheduled and set up. Okay, so I've got a few different brushes I'm using here. Some are really good, some are really bad. Um, a couple of my brushes are just the generic Citadel starter brushes. Out of the way. So just the Citadel starter brushes, nothing crazy. Um, I usually use one until it gets kind of beaten up, like this one here. So yeah, that one's a little more beaten up. You can see some of the hair sticking off. This one's got a little bit nicer point. So this will be better for the detail work. This is for some of the bigger stuff I'm not super worried about. Um, I've got another brush here that is a much nicer, finer point. I'll be using this for other stuff. Um, when it comes to doing the eyes and some really, really small details, I've got a 3.0 by Velvet Touch. This has a super small brush on it. And this works really good for doing stuff like eyes. So that's like my go-to for that one. This is just a cheapo brush. I don't even know, I can't even read any markings or anything on it. I've used this for so long now. Um, but yeah, just a simple brush when I'm applying washes. Again, a little bit larger brush. This is the Citadel medium base brush. I use this one quite a bit. And this is one of the newer brushes I got. This is a number 6 Scrumbler by Artist Loft. It's very similar to the dry brush. And so I'll be using this doing a lot of the dry brushes as well. So that's the brushes I'm using today. As far as paints, we started with Lead Belcher, which was our base color that we did with a prime on. And then we followed that up with Rune Lord Brass and then Retributor Armor. So those are our 3 metallic colors we're using. We went ahead and used Ball Red for the sides of the bike. So this area down in here. I've also got Tesseract Glow that I'll be using, again from Citadel. This is going to be the paint that I'm going to be using for the guns. You can see on my Grievous model here. Come on, focus. So the green right there in the guns, that's what I'll be using for that. Then our highlight for all the silver areas is going to go ahead and be Necron Compound. This is a dry paint, so very thick. We'll talk about that when we go to use it. The seat is going to be in Croxagore Scales, so just kind of a nice little blue color. I'll use that on all of them. The cape on the Magna Guard is going to be 3 parts. We're starting with Corn Red, followed by Careburg Crimson, and then finishing up with Asterath Red for the dry brush. And that's going to give us the base color, the deep recesses, and the highlights all in the 3 set here. So we'll be using that. For the Electro Staff, we're going to be using Gray Seer for the base um, before we put a highlighted color on there. Then we're going to use Familiar Pink for the glow, the electric glow basically. And then we're going to use Longbeard Gray to go ahead and do the edging on the staff to get kind of the electric look to it. Then for the eyes and the light on the chest, we're going to use Wild Rider Red. And then for the base, we're going to finish it off with Screamer Pink and Abaddon Black. And then the base will get coated in a rock mixture that I have that I'm using and with some blue and white grass tufts. So that's everything we're using here as far as paint. Oh, and then Nuln Oil. Obviously, we already used that one. So that's all the paints we're going to be using. So my goal here was to hopefully give the wash a little bit of time to dry, because I don't want to jump in right away with the dry brush while this is still wet. So areas like in here where I can still see that it's definitely wet, we are not going to touch that yet. So I think we're going to jump over to the gun. The gun's still kind of wet too, but I think we got to do it. We got to keep moving. Oh, Tesseract Glow really needs to be shaken up good. You can see it settles quite a bit down here. You can see that strong color change there from the light to dark green. Even on color on the bottom, you can definitely see it right there. So all this is caked up color that we need to mix into the medium. So shake it really well. I highly recommend that anytime you're painting, use a paint holder. I know there's different paint holders for different brands. Most of the paints I use is the Citadel, so I'm using the Citadel paint holder. It just helps to keep your stuff from getting knocked over. I know Nuln Oil is like one of the big things that gets knocked over, and yeah, it just kind of spills everywhere and it's gone and you're done. This is not fully shaken up, but it's the best we're going to do. This is a nice, really good bright green color. And it's okay that it's going to kind of mix with the Nuln Oil a little bit. I'm not super worried about that. I just need to kind of get this stuff in here before I do the dry brush. And so like I want to go right in here on these parts of the gun. And I know that I can't get it just in those little holes. So I'm gonna do the best I can. Do the same thing up here. I know I'm getting it everywhere. And I'm just gonna take a quick little swipe and just try to get some of that up. I'm not gonna get all of it, but I'm hoping that my dry brush will cover that up. So there's that part. We've got these little coils here that we're gonna do green as well. Oh, that black is really not dry right there just yet. Sean, what's up, buddy? How's it going? Just punch a pot of paint today. Why did you punch a pot of paint? You've intrigued me. So I'm painting this guy up. I'm using my General Grievous on wheel bike as reference. We went over what brushes we're using. We went over what paints we're using. It wasn't on purpose. Okay, that makes a little more sense. I don't think you'd go punching paint on purpose, Sean. So Justin always gives me crap about how many paints I use. Let's see, on this one, I'm only using, what, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Only 17 paints on this one. Putting a swoop back on the base and it slipped. Yep, that'll do it. So Sean, we were talking the other day about Adepticon. I know that you're out in that area. Are you heading that way this weekend? You are. I'm kind of jealous, I'll be honest. Are you going to check out the StarCraft game while you're out there? Playing in the qualifier Friday. Well, I'll be watching Longshanks to see how you're doing. So good luck, obviously. I'm still not sure on this on the StarCraft game. I really want to check it out. I mean, I love the old games on the computer. I'm just a little concerned about the pricing of the game. It looks very Warhammery priced. Probably not a good word, but you're gonna take a look at it. Not likely going to buy it. Have too many games at it. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. Because I definitely got too many games, but I think it would be a fun game to play on stream. I got faith. I think you'll do just fine. But Sean, while you're out there at Adepticon, if you do swing by the StarCraft booth and they have copies of the box set or the starter set, uh, shoot me a message and let me know what they're selling at there at the event, and maybe we'll see about you picking it up and shipping it to us and all that. Because yeah, I'm not gonna get it out there this year. Okay, so moving on, we've got the Croxagore scales now. This is going on for the seat of the bike. This is going to be a pain in the butt to put this on. This is still wet. This is going to take forever. I'm not like Justin. I don't like doing the painting videos where I edit everything. I like kind of doing just a one video solid at a time. So I think we're going to use our brush and kind of wick away some of this extra wash down here. Try to get this to dry a little bit quicker. Maybe turning on the fan on in this room might help a little bit because it's definitely warm up here. So give me 1 second here. Okay, let's see if we can get him drying a little bit quicker. So just as a reference, this is the General Grievous that I'm using that will hopefully get the other bike painted up close to this. Um, Obviously, I'm doing the purple on Grievous here. I'm doing red on this bike, and its partner is going to be purple as well, or red as well. And then I'll do some other ones that will be um, blue, green, and probably purple. Yeah, red, purple, blue, and green. But yeah, this is what we're going for. So you can see the Croxagore scales down here for the seat. Really kind of a hard place to get to on these bikes, um, but we'll get to them. But it's still pretty wet down there. But I think we can make do. It's funny how when you're concentrating, you kind of stop talking too. Oh, look at that, got blue everywhere. Yeah, let's fix that. Okay, so back to the seat. My napkin's blowing away on me over here. This is gonna be the fun part, getting way down in here. Had to start YouTube real quick. Yeah, no worries. So I already said this a couple times on here with other people, but the reason we're not doing a live stream tonight is kind of twofold. We've been having some issues with our cameras, and I know what those issues are, and I've got those resolved now, but I need to rewire some of them. So that's one reason we're not doing a battle report tonight. And the other reason is Everyone's either out of town or is watching kids or has family related issues. And so I had no one to play with tonight. So next time we hear Cody talking about, oh, the stream wants more Cody, the stream wants more Cody, we can tell him he had his chance. But in all honesty, unfortunately, his daughter is not feeling well today, and so that's why he's not here. Is he's at home taking care of his baby. So as much as I'd like to give him a hard time, uh, he's not here for a good reason. But I still think we can give him a hard time for it though, and I probably will. What am I saying? Yeah, I'm going to for sure. Okay, so we got the seat painted. Oh, man, that breeze up here definitely feels nice. So our next thing would be the cape. Yeah, my wife was watching her today for Cody, so I'm sure she'll bounce back pretty quick. But he kind of said that she was already feeling a little bit better, so hopefully she'll be back to school on Friday. Okay, so going on to our dry brush here. I'm gonna use my old ratty dry brush for this one. I like the new one, but this paint is really dry and thick, and it doesn't work real well. I probably need to get a new one, but I haven't yet. So kind of break this up, and you see it just kind of comes off in these like large clumps and balls, and it doesn't work the best, but it still does work. So try working this into the bristles. There we go. That's what I want to see, is more like that. Where I get these big clumps on there. So wipe most of those off and just start working these in. I've heard people do figure 8 motions, twisting motions. It all does the same thing. And then to test it, I just go on the back of my hand and I just see how much is coming off. And I'm getting a decent amount there, so I think I'm going to stick with that. So I'm just going to go crossways with this. I'm not going to go against the long ways because I don't want to go with the flat areas really. I want to kind of go against them. And then we're just going to get this paint picking up on here. You're lazy, you just go back and forth. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one way to do it. I try not to do that. Sometimes it happens. I hope that blue is not dry there. Getting a lot of blue off on this right now. So again, same thing, trying to go inside here to get that dry brush, picking up the highlights as best I can. Okay, where do we go to next? I guess we'll go over here. Okay, well, I think we're looking pretty good there. Go back, check something here. So we did have Croxivore scales there as well. So we have to go back to Croxivore scales. Croxivore scales was down. You guys can see it on that little control panel right there. And I also need to touch up the side of his leg because we got a little bit of blue on the leg. So we'll touch that up and get that back to silver. Okay, Croxivore scales are done. We're getting close to halfway through the model as far as all the little detail work and everything. So it's not doing too bad. So we got that blue on him a little too much right here. So we're going to touch this up. Touch up the spot down here. I think we're looking pretty good now. The arm a little bit right here. And the hand here. So I'm not trying to put a ton of paint on. I'm just trying to put enough on to cover it without getting rid of my highlights that I just put in. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good there. Okay, now we are on to the cape. At this point, actually, the bike is pretty much done. I don't think there's anything on the bike I need to, well, no, I take that back. I do need to do some dry brushing on the bike. Just because the purple ground, I'm going to use Screamer Pink to go ahead and give me a um, like a dusty look that the bike has picked up. So, but we will get to that later. Next, we're moving on. We are using corn red, and we're going on to the cape. This is such a thick paint, but I just love the way it goes on. So here we go. We're using our starter brush from Citadel again. I got the base color down for my swoops. I need to add the shades and highlights and do the bases. Well, you are running out of time there, Sean. Absolutely love this dark red color. This corn red color is just a perfect color for this. Goes on really nicely. Still have to do 2 coats, but it's not bad. Sometimes I don't even have to do 2 coats. Sometimes I just get away with doing one. Won't be amazing, but good enough. You're gonna stay as is for the tournament, unfortunately. Well, hey, 3 color minimum. I mean, as long as you're meeting the standard, no one's gonna say anything. But yeah, go back and put some more paint on them later on, if you feel so inclined. And if you don't, then all those naysayers can go pound salt. I have been quite behind on my painting goal uh, this year, only because I got stuck painting a bunch of um, terrain. I'm happy I got the terrain painted. It came out good. It looks good, but it ate up a lot of my time. Seems like everything I've been trying to paint lately has just been just taking forever, unfortunately. This cape is just all over the place on this model. I mean, it looks cool, but it's pain to paint. One of the biggest tips I tell everyone when this comes to this hobby is just take your time. Don't rush your painting. Just enjoy the process. Enjoy taking your time, phasing everything out, and just focusing on putting some paint on little tiny detailed areas of your model. I think this is definitely the most relaxing part of the model hobby for me. Is just taking my time, kind of being up alone here in my thoughts. When I'm not doing painting videos, obviously, and just enjoying, kind of zoning out for a while is definitely a very nice feeling. Probably a little bit to say here, probably too much saying here, but I can imagine the world would be a better place if everyone just painted more models. Imagine if everyone had to paint models. They all have a love and appreciation for it. You need to print a few things for some minis. What are you going to print, Sean? Yeah, painting at least without hard deadline is very relaxing for me. Yeah, but I tend to get most of my painting done under a under a deadline for sure. I don't know how many LVOs or tournaments I've gone to where it's like, oh, I got this model painted and it gets done and I'm happy with it afterwards. But yeah, it's an interesting little detail in this model I just noticed here. So the left side of the cape is, nice and full, but the right side is all tattered up right here. Dust clouds and smoke trails, so you have to use the clear pegs on swoops, buses, and mandos. So, okay, here's a tip for you. I hated doing those. Um, I alternately went with the clear pegs, but I did not use the clear pegs from uh, AMG or Fantasy Flight Games. I don't like those pegs. I don't think they work very well. I ended up using the pegs from the old straight pegs from Games Workshop. Yeah, it definitely gets you motivated when you have a deadline for sure. But the old straight pegs from Games Workshop work great for most of our models. On my Mandos and stuff like that, I literally just drilled a small, I think it was a 1/8 inch hole in the like backpack of the model, like at the bottom of it, with a small pin vise, and that's how I got my clear flight stands for my models. And because I'm drilling into it and setting it in there a good eighth of an inch or more, maybe even 3/8 of an inch, maybe. No, that'd be too big. 3/16 of an inch. Um, it definitely gets a better contact point. And then you're also drilling a hole in the base and mounting it in the base, and that kind of went a long way for that project as well. So I would definitely recommend looking into that because I don't like those clear flight stands, um, the curved clear flight stands. But the 3D printing stuff, I mean, that's definitely a viable option. If I had a 3D printer, I would probably look into that. Well, no, what do I say? I'm probably not because I've got all my all my guys on pegs now, so I'd probably keep going with them on pegs. Man, this cape just keeps going. The big concern is the pegs breaking. Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that. I've had some pegs break in the past, um, but I've never had any of the GW ones break when I had them drilled inside. So, just for whatever that's worth, that's my experience with it. I mean, I did that on a fair bit of models back when I was playing 40K. Okay, I am done trying to get underneath that cape, so I'm going to call that good for right now. Luckily, this paint dries really quick. So now we're on to Caribird Crimson. This is our wash. I've seen some people say, oh, do the dry brush before the wash. Some people say do the wash before the dry brush. I pretty much always do the wash before the dry brush. Just me. I don't know if it's better or not. It's just what I do. I've always had good experience with it. See what I'm doing here? So just getting a good amount of paint on here, and we're just gonna start going over the model and just getting these recesses. I was even gonna find some 40K pegs and see how they work out. Yeah, I can show you after this painting video what they look like because I've got some of mine over in my cart over here next to me, um, and they work really well, really well. Um, the tough part is trying to get the model painted with the peg, and then do you paint the peg or do you leave it clear? I tend to prefer to end up painting mine. I just use the black primer when I'm doing it and just get the peg at the same time. Call it done. And depending on what your bases look like, sometimes the black peg looks just as fine as a clear peg. Okay, so there's our wash drying. If you don't intend to highlight after doing the dry brush, first works. I mean, I don't tend to highlighting other than just the dry brushing. So I don't know. Take that for what it's worth, I guess. We are running into the point where I've got to kind of wait for this guy to dry, so we'll place him over here in the shade, or in the not the shade, in the wind. But while we've got that, Sean, I will go ahead and show you what I'm talking about with my guys. So this guy's on one of the taller ones. So for him, he actually got drilled into the groin area. But yeah, I mean, he's on here good. He's not coming off. That works really well. Other ones, this guy, it got drilled into the backpack. So just coming right up into the backpack, leaves his legs free. And again, he's on there. Like it's a pretty sturdy peg. Like I can move it a little bit, but it's not moving much. Let's see, here's another example. Where is he at? So for Boba here, again, same thing, up into the backpack. He was one he had to go in a little bit of an angle to kind of get the right angle for him. But yeah, just going into the backpack works really well. I'm trying to think any other ones that I've used that with. Um, in fact, actually, even if you take one of those pegs and you slightly file down one side of it, it works really well for, um, oh gosh, what is it called? Replacements for bark or for the speeders, like bark speeders and stuff. But this is literally all these pegs look like. You can find them on eBay and stuff. And they've got different sizes, but I mean, this is all it is right there. So I just used two different drill bits, one for the small hole, one for the bigger hole. You can look like on my Mando here that's not glued or painted yet. So he's just loose on here. So I just drilled a hole through the bottom of the base, glued the rod on there, drilled the hole in the backpack, and then once I'm done painting, he'll just get he'll just get glued on there. For now, he just kind of rotates. That's what I found to be the absolute easiest for these guys. Um, and if you're using magnets for a case instead of using oh, what's it called, foam, then you should never have any problems with them breaking on you. I never have. The little teeny tiny ball joint for the curved bases, I just don't think works real well. Okay, well, we're waiting for that to dry. We're gonna go ahead and do our Wild Rider red, which looks more like orange. Definitely looks like more like orange compared to that red right there. This is one we're gonna go ahead and do some eyes on. Nice brand new bottle there. This again, we're using the 3.0 Velvet Touch paintbrush. So again, super small little paintbrush here. So, and this one, we're just gonna put a little bit of paint on here and just go right into the eye. Second one. And we can barely see this little chest piece right here. Got a little bit of a glow. Down there now. You know what? I had another paint out earlier and I put it away thinking I don't need this paint. And now I'm realizing that yes, I did actually indeed need it. So Mephiston Red, again, a brighter red color. This is the one that I use on the controls on the bike. So I'll do this one real quick. You had a bunch of big models snap off. That's probably where the fear comes from. Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I've had that happen more times than I would like to recount. So the other control on this one is nice because it's covered up by the hand, whereas Grievous, you could see the corners of the dot of the control right down in there. So you kind of had to paint both of them, unfortunately. With him, that one's completely covered, so makes that easy. Just one little dot on these guys. Red still isn't quite dry. I am going to go back and touch up one little part, something I missed earlier. The Rune Lord brass, we're going to go ahead and do this on part of the electro staff as well, just a little handle part. Again, just to kind of break up the color so it's not super monotone throughout. So Sean, what is your name on Longshank so I can look for you in the match on Thursday? Because you're playing on no Friday. No, are you playing tomorrow or Friday? But it's still just not drying enough right here on the Cape. Qualifiers Friday. Okay. I almost thought about taking Friday off of work just to be able to watch and comment on stuff. That's kind of silly, but I could. Okay, dealing with the dry paint. This one does not look like a dry paint, but it is definitely thick. It does not really move in there at all. Um, but this one, I love this color, but I hate this paint. And what I mean by that is this one stains brushes. I cannot get the red out of this brush. And you see the two next to each other. One is clearly red, the other one's brown. So I love this paint, but I hate it for this reason as well. Um, so I've got to figure out what brush I want to use that I don't mind getting this red color on. I think we're going to use this one here. We're getting quite a bit off there still. I don't know if I want that much coming off. Add a camera. I love this pairing of this red because it always just goes together so well. And it gives just a great look afterwards. I mean, you could go through and highlight it further if you want. I personally never do. I'm happy just the way it looks. You notice on the end here, I'm really kind of going back and forth on this. I really want the ragged portions to pick up a lot of color. So that's why I go over those quite a bit. Oop, dropping my model. Yeah, so you see how that just gives some really nice highlights with this color. They're not like super pronounced. They're not like understated. It's just a really, really good dry brush color and base color combination. I've used this so many times. Okay, so our cape is done now. I know Justin's going to laugh when I say I've only done 3 colors on the cape, but it's, that's how I paint. So we're close to the model being finished. We're just going on now and painting the electro staff. So mostly we're just looking at the silver from the lightning from the electro staff. So in order to get the color I want like that kind of pink glow. I'm starting with gray sear to come in and do the base color first. And this is definitely going to take more than one coat here. This tends to go on a little opaque, a little see-through, and it's not what we want. We want to have kind of a nice solid color on here before we put the speed paint on here. And I know I'm putting this on a little bit thick, and that's okay though. I did notice when I was building these models that the um, MagnaGuard staffs are much better detailed than the old ones. But on the flip side, the old ones were actually longer. They were a slightly bigger scale. So I don't know why they changed that, making them smaller, but they did. But I think honestly, if you look at them next to each other, you'd probably never know unless it was pointed out to you. Unfortunately, now you know, and you'll never see it otherwise. So, but for reference, this is a regular MagnaGuard staff. I'm sorry, this is the one on the wheel bikes, and this one right here next to it, it's just slightly longer, like 1/8 of an inch. On the bottom, you can see it. It's just slightly longer. Um, yeah, I don't know why they did that, but it's there. And this brush is not doing the best. It's getting really squirrely on me there. This is one I got to take more time with because working around this red cape that we just painted, we don't want to put white on it. So, Sean, I'm going to take a wild guess here and assume that this is not your first Adepticon that you're going to. Is that correct? Been the last 3 or 4. So I made it out to not last year's, but the year prior. Unfortunately, I was the only one from our team that went that year, but I had a blast. was a lot of fun. Okay, so we've got the white on our Magna Guard staffs, the electric. Next, I need my paint palette. By that, I mean a traditional paint palette, one like this, um, because we are using familiar pink from Army Paint for speed paints. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I don't want to get into too much detail here, but there was some stuff that wasn't the best for me, but it had nothing to do with the event or anything like that. It was more personal life and stuff like that showing its ugly head. So, um, all I will say is if you ever deal with depression, seek help. Okay, so we got a nice bright pink color here. This white luckily dries fairly quickly. So we're going to come in here and just start painting in the electric glow. I love this color for this. Such a nice, vibrant pink color. I'll say don't be afraid to use a lot of this. So what I mean by that is you want to get that solid pink color. If it's kind of running in the areas you don't want it, pull a little more down. Okay, so that's got to dry. We have one step left on our Magna Guard staff, and everything else is just the basing. So let's jump onto the basing. So for this, I'm gonna make this a little bit easier for myself. I'm going to put him on one of my bottles here. So I kind of pull my blue tack up into a little point like this. I'm just gonna stick him on here. So now I've got a little more control over where I can hold him at. I know he's not coming off there. Notice I didn't paint any of the stuff down here. And there's a good reason for that. I'm not going to see it anyways. I'm going to cover the entire base with rocks. So it doesn't matter if that's there or not. So we are using Screamer Pink. Come on, focus. Doesn't want to focus. Well, we're using Screamer Pink. There we go. Um, kind of a cool color, a pinkish purple color. I'm going to go back to my big brush here. I don't need to be too shy with this color. Just get it on there. This brush is getting really bad. I got that glue on it. I can just not get that glue off. So let's go to a different brush. Go to this one, a little bit bigger brush. So we're just going to come in here and just start covering this base entirely in purple. Notice I'm not going to be too concerned if I get a little bit of purple on the bike like I did right there, because I'm going to dry brush purple on the bike for that reason, that I want it to look like the purple dust has been kicked up onto the bike. It's the one area I hate painting on these guys, is trying to get in between the wheels, and they are almost impossible to get in there. And I still can't completely get it in there. There's still a little bit of gray or silver. You'll notice that I am completely covering up the markings on the base to tell the arcs. The reason I do that is because I have the little tools that fit into the front notches to show you where the arc is. And so I don't care if I cover over those, because I think personally a finished base looks better without those, but that's my opinion. I know it's part of the game and it's an aspect of it, but I want it to look good. This camera's probably a little close now for this. This is probably a better height there. Yeah, look at that. Much better. The rim of my base is going to be black, but I paint this because the black going over the silver is a little too bright, and I end up needing to use multiple coats, usually sometimes 3 to 4 coats, where by going this way, I'm only going to need 1, maybe 2 coats of black over this. So I think he's looking pretty good. That brush is holding a lot of paint. Doesn't want to clean very well. I'll have to get that one later. Okay, so now we're going to do the scrumbler brush. So I'm going to get some paint on this. I'm going to treat this just like I would a dry brush. Ooh, that's a lot of paint. Way too much coming off on that. That's better. So we're going to come in here and just assume that this bike's been riding in this stuff for a little while, and we're going to see that that dust from this purplish pink sand is kicked up onto the bike. I'm just doing a light dry brush. I'm not trying to do anything too heavy. I can probably do a little bit down here on the feet because maybe they drag a little bit. The feet definitely need some though. Again, not trying to do a whole lot, just trying to get it to show that, this thing's crawling around and running and everything this thing does. Okay, so we've got our pink on there. We're going to get a little more on the brush. Go to the other side. You got to be careful with the gun here. You don't want to get any on the gun if you can avoid it. Again, we're not trying to make it look super purple, but we want to get that transfer. We'll get a little bit down here. This is why we weren't worried about that purple earlier. Because that side's going to drag a little bit. And we need to get all these little teeth on the wheel bike. This is why I said earlier I wasn't super worried about making sure the teeth were fully painted, because I knew that we were going to do a few layers of dry brush over them, one being the silver and now this one. I'm trying to get inside here a little bit. Not the easiest thing to do on this model, but all this little stuff that we do makes this model look just a little bit better. Okay, that is a good looking wheel bike if I don't say so myself. Okay, two last colors. Okay, so now that the pink looks pretty dry on our MagnaGuard staff there, we are going to go in with Longbeard Gray. Yeah, that picture doesn't look the greatest with that angle right there, though, and that, that looks better there now. So Longbeard Gray is just a nice kind of light gray color. So just getting enough off. We're just going to go over here and just real quickly just kind of put some definition in the electric staff on the lightning. And there we go. I'm getting pretty happy with him. We do have the black rim and the rocks on the base. So let's keep going. I did notice I got a little bit of white on the tape. So let's try to fix that real quick. So just a wet brush and just going in, kind of rubbing over it lightly. And there we go. That part's gone. A little bit right there. Okay, so for our rim, we're using Abaddon Black, a nice, good, solid black color. Goes on well. It's fairly thick-ish. And we're just going to do the rim. Do I have the right one here? Yeah, Abaddon Black. This one feels like it might have gotten a little congealed. Yeah, let's see what we're dealing with here. That one looks really thick. Let's try this one. Because who doesn't have multiple Abaddon Black paints sitting around? Oh yeah, there we go. That one's much better. That's what it should look like. So that brush we used to dry brush earlier, we're gonna go back to that one. So this is the medium base brush. We're just gonna start doing this rim. I think you might have a pot of Chaos Black still. That's some old school paint right there. I still remember going into the local store here in Modesto that's no longer here anymore, called the Gauntlet, and they had the old hexagon-shaped pots of paint. And I remember always wanting those, but never being able to afford them as a 10-year-old. So I got stuck with the apple barrel paints from the craft store because they were 25, 50 cents a piece way back then. Now they're like $1, $1.50. I think I still have some of the Citadel glazes around here somewhere. Okay, so there's one around the base, and it doesn't look too bad, but you can see there's still a little bit of the screamer pink coming through. So we're just going to go one more time over this. This time we don't need to be as careful making sure we get everything. It's just kind of putting that second layer on it. Yeah, it was a hard sell to get my mom to buy me Citadel paint. So I thought, yeah, I completely understand that. I never got Citadel paints for that reason. They were just way too pricey for our budget. Okay, so we are on our almost final step here. Where did my glue go? My glue is downstairs and I'm out of it. So I guess I won't be basing the model tonight. We will see it in the finished video. I'll put a small, much shorter, smaller video up. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, this is a wheel bike guy done, ready to go into battle. Yeah, so saved. I did attach the riders, so he looked just like this one ahead of time. Um, the attachment points on these ones were really, really tough. I know some people talk about trying to magnetize them. it's not going to work on these guys very well because you have to magnetize the peg for the feet down here. You have to peg the handlebars, and where the seat goes in, you have to magnetize all of that. Stage assembly like I did with the Grievous, but the riders are pretty flimsy. Yeah, they are definitely pretty flimsy. Even all the electro staffs, you'll notice like this one, I moved it to where I can glue it back up here on the arm, and then the other ones, I used a regular electro staff from the old models, and then glued it down here on the front. There we go, down here on the front, just to give it more support, because otherwise they're gonna break super easily. I mean, I don't like the way this feels already. But with this guy, it was literally supposed to be coming out and then sticking up straight, where it was going to be going like this, and that was just such a bad idea. So, yeah, I fully assembled them. The other reason why I fully assembled them first as well saved is because the my Magna Guards I paint in silver, where my BXs are painted in Militarum gray. And so I was worried about trying to do that color scheme over the top. So I was worried about trying to get this gray scheme on the rider after it was put on the bike. And so I thought by doing Magna Guards on all of them, it would be easier just to do the lead belcher over all of them instead of trying to get the gray on there. So that's why I went with Magna Guards on all of them. It also just makes it easier. I primed Grievous one black, then sprayed gunmetal and shaded plate metal all over the top before I added in any more. All my accent colors for my droids are purple. So I do various accent colors. That way I use the accent colors to tell my squads apart. So like all of this bike unit here is going to have red with the red capes. So once this guy's painted up, I'll be able to know which one is a unit together because the red. And then I'm going to do another one where they're blue, another one where they're purple, and probably another one where they're green. Um, but my base colors on all these guys are going to be the same purple basing I'm doing for all of mine. And if you want to see what that looks like, I mean, here is Grievous, so that's the basing that I'm doing on him. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the way he came out. Yeah, doing something with the basing and the capes, I think it's the best way to go. And I even took some of the glue and put the glue up on these, so it shows that like it's picking up some of the rocks as it's going. So, but yeah, I mean, these guys rolling into battle together, I think they're going to look good, and they're pretty much identical. So I think with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. I think we did it. We got one painted in the books here, and we will get him based later on when I have my glue because I don't have my glue here with me. I ran out of my Elmer's glue that I use. So, yeah, I did a bit of that kind of effect on mine too. Yeah, it's a great effect. I actually bought all the rocks and I stained them with oil stains to get the purple pink color. And it looks really washed out in that. It's not nearly as this dark. You can see even just getting my hand in here, it's quite a bit of a dark purple color. Spoiled about Bike Force Adepticon. I think we're definitely going to see that. In fact, when I get done with this, I need to go and upload our video that we posted for the um, Adepticon previews, hot takes, whatever you think, whatever you want to call it. Basically, what we think they're going to show off. So I think it ended up being about 43 minutes. But yeah, that'll be going up here very, very shortly. I just used my basing plate and I did it with a toothpick. Well, yeah, I mean, that works too. So I think that's it, guys. With that said, again, sorry for no battle report this week, but with having some camera issues, they're getting fixed, and then everyone else either being sick or traveling or dealing with family issues. We just didn't have anyone to play this week other than myself. So with that said, we will be back next week 100% with another battle report. Justin will be here for sure, so we will have that. And I've got basically a week to get 7 more bikes painted up to see if I can run that. So we'll see. But thanks guys for coming and hanging out, and we will see you on the next video. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll have the attachment points on them are definitely weak. Yes, 100% agree. The attachment points on these areas are not the best. But like and subscribe, and we'll be back next week. And obviously, if you join our Discord, we're more than happy to talk Legion all day long in there where we can. And look out for those other videos. I've got 2 videos that are getting posted tonight. One is a unboxing video for a mystery box that we got from Monster Fight Club that's going to have some other games and stuff we're going to be playing in that. And then obviously the hot takes one for Adepticon, what we think they're going to share and show off and what we need for the game to be better and all that fun stuff. So thanks guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time.